For a whole week, I ignored this story. I browsed over the title of the story and I just thought, man, that is just an ugly story. That is just awful. That sounds horrible. So I didn't believe the story. And then I read the story, and I knew exactly why I felt that I didn't want to read the story, because I knew it was going to be some crap. Pardon my language. And the story is black leadership rejects Trader Joe's in black neighborhood because it would bring too many white people to the neighborhood. So that's the title. Now, I make titles and I try and make the titles controversial. I have to tone them down here on YouTube, because if I make a title too controversial, it will scare away the advertiser. But this person obviously doesn't have that problem. They can make as outrageous a title to capture people's attention as possible. However, the behavior of the United States of America today, with its educational system, is that 90% of Americans do not actually read the news. They browse over the titles and then they think they know the news. It's been studied before. Lightweight studies, I know it's not peer-reviewed study, but there's really no need to do any further study than that. Do you browse or do you not browse the title? And the answer is yes. Americans browse the titles in 90% of the cases, and they form opinions based on just titles. They don't actually read the stories. So I read the story. Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show with your host Shikama. Be sure to like the video so that everybody can see what's in this video. It pushes the ranking up. I read this story, and within 2 seconds, I knew that the title was a lie. Now, why am I saying the title was a lie? Because the title had absolutely nothing to do with the story. You know what the story is actually about is that this neighborhood rejected a Trader Joe's, not because it was going to bring in white people and all this sort of malarkey. Now, the title is suggesting that the black leadership is saying, oh, we don't want Trader Joe's in because white people would, from their house, get in a car, travel to the Trader Joe's, buy stuff, and get back in their car and go back home. That's what it suggests. And it's suggesting that black people are ignorant. Black people are stupid. Black people are backwards. How dare they reject a Trader Joe's? First of all, let's think of a couple of things just off the top of, without even delving into the actual article. Trader Joe's only goes to neighborhoods that are pretty much affluent, meaning everybody in the neighborhood has to be a certain level of wealth and above, right? So the article suggests that Trader Joe's is going to a poor neighborhood. Well, that can't be, because if you study Trader Joe's for 1 second, you know that they're not going to go to a poor neighborhood. Why would Trader Joe's, which is overpriced junk, which pretends to be organic, but it's not organic. It's USDA organic, and a lot of stuff in the Trader Joe's is not even USDA organic. It's not real organic stuff. It's not coming from a farm that doesn't use any pesticides and doesn't use any GMOs. It's a flat out lie. So, Trader Joe's is going to wealthy neighborhoods. Well, if this neighborhood isn't wealthy, there has to be something else to the story. And that's where we get into the story. The story says, and this is why it doesn't even make sense, the story says that the city gave Trader Joe's a $500,000 deduction in the property taxes and sales and reduced price to Trader Joe's in a black neighborhood. So what were the black people really upset about? The black people were upset about is that no black person ever got that deal in that neighborhood. But Trader Joe's, from out of nowhere comes and makes this deal, and black people who paid their taxes never got such a deal, and the city was going to continue to do urban renewal and oust all of the poor black people in the neighborhood. It's a big, huge show, and Trader Joe's, doing the right thing, pulled out and said, "Oh, wait a minute, you're getting into some mess. You all are trying to kill off these people. You're trying to do something. You're trying to kick people out of their homes. You're trying to eminent domain people out of their homes. We're gonna bow out." Well, Trader Joe's doesn't want their name associated with some mess. So Trader Joe's did the right thing and bowed out when all of this controversy came to light. Now, it's the black leadership is so ingrained in this whole Democratic Party, they don't formulate their language to mean exactly what they mean. So I'm going to help the black leadership, and I'm going to help you. I want you to look up gerrymandering. I want you to look up redlining. I'm not going to explain it here because I want you to do a little bit of research. Because if I say it, you're going to be, "Oh, that doesn't happen. Oh, that can't be true." And it is true. This is what they do to black neighborhoods. This is what they did after civil rights was successful in doing the stupidity that it did. I know people are going to say, "Oh, what do you mean you're against civil rights?" I'm against civil rights the way it was implemented. When it started out, since this is Black History Month, I'm going to give you some black history. When it started out, black people were protesting economically. They shut down cities by boycotting stuff, by not going and spending their money. By the time the Democrats got a hold of them and let them loose, they did the exact opposite. They took beatings to spend their money in white businesses that didn't want them, in the middle of town where white people didn't want them. Beatings. Who would? It's so stupid, and I mean stupid. I would pull them out by their, if I was alive during that time, I would pull them out by their heads. What the hell are you doing? Why the hell are you spending your money at some white business who doesn't want you getting beat by women? Oh, non-violence. Non-violence, my friggin' black butt. You do it the right way, which is the way we started. After John Kennedy got a hold of Martin Luther King and the rest of them and threw them in jail and tell them to say, "Look, Negro, this is how it's gonna work," which is exactly what happened. And black people worship John Kennedy. John Kennedy is the worst thing that ever happened to black people. Black homes have the picture of white Jesus and John Kennedy sitting right there on their wall worshiping those two idiots. Yes, idiots. John Kennedy was an enemy to the black man. His brother, on the other hand, did the right thing. His brother is the one that sent in the troops to assist in the freedom riders and the people going to schools. But I digress. Let's get down. What would I have done differently in civil rights? Civil rights started out perfectly. They boycotted the buses. They boycotted the stores. Shut down the city. When black people didn't spend their money at these white businesses, they caused an uproar. They caused a financial disaster in the city. When black people didn't spend their money at the white stores and went back to their own neighborhood and spent their money with their own black businesses, the black neighborhoods and black subdivisions or towns or what have you grew in wealth. When we spent our money in our own neighborhood and had our own banks and had our own bus lines and had our own taxis and had our own pharmacists, had our own policemen, had our own fire trucks, our neighborhood grew in wealth to such a degree that you have a case in Oklahoma while the white people were going to the black neighborhoods to take out business loans to go back to the white neighborhood and open up businesses. And the white people couldn't stand it any longer, and they killed and slaughtered everybody, burnt down all of their houses, looted and pillaged everybody in the neighborhood. This this wasn't that long ago. This wasn't that long ago. It's just a little bit outside of my lifetime, but a lot of you watching the show, it was in the lifetime, in your lifetime. So what is going on with this Seattle neighborhood? The black neighborhood is saying that they are having their money taken away through taxes, not given anything. And this Trader Joe's, which we can say is a white business, is being given all of this stuff to come into a black neighborhood once again. And I'm assuming that the real crux of the contention is that blacks never got that treatment, never were offered that, no matter what my corporation, in offering shares, trying to offer shares for investors, because a lot of my friends are rich and want to invest in my corporation for the real estate side of my business. I can't afford it. I don't have any incentives by the government or any tax deductions or anything. I have to pay all of that, lawyers, everything, all out of my pocket as a donation to the corporation, out of my pocket, basically. It is astronomical, the regulations that I have to do in order to accept money from people. I can't do it. There's even a red cent, one red cent, I have to comply with all of these regulations. Oh, I would love to be a Walmart. I would love to be a Trader Joe's that gets complete elimination of all sorts of taxes and deals of $500,000 in property purchases. It's crazy. And I'm sure the leadership wants to say, but they did not say anything about black and white. But that the people are coming in, and what they're trying to do, of course, is oust all of the poor or middle class black people out of the neighborhood. And they're trying to redo the neighborhood. Well, if they had taken the $500,000 and all of the other things, all of the other money that they're planning on doing, all of these nefarious projects to oust the black people, and actually make deals with the black businesses who want to open in the neighborhood, you wouldn't have a poor black neighborhood anymore. You would have a regular middle class to upscale neighborhood, because they would hire all the black people in the neighborhood. The neighbors would spend money at those businesses, and the businessmen would get richer, and it just snowballs into pre-civil rights black neighborhoods. That's exactly what happens. But you have wealthy black people, even wealthy black people. CNN did some research on this, and they can't get loans to open up businesses in black neighborhoods. The institutional racism term is that it is high risk. But, and this is where the CNN study came in. It was a 2020, not CNN, I'm sorry. 2020 ABC News did a secret study where they had 20 different families. Half of them were black, half of them were white or Korean or something like that. So all of the black people could not get business loans. They couldn't get home loans to purchase brownstones in the neighborhood, and the neighborhoods were definitely black. The whites and the Koreans all got loans and they had the same exact qualifications, assets, financial statements, everything was perfectly the same. You know, this is an underhanded secret study. So everything was the same between the black families and the white and Korean families. And the whites and Koreans always got the loan, and the black people, however wealthy they were, never got the loan. One family, which this was based off of, who were the wealthy black family, said they could not believe it. They couldn't believe, first of all, the man, the husband, was like an astrophysics engineer or something crazy like that. He made $500,000 a year. He had $1 million in the bank, and he was denied a loan to purchase a house, a brownstone. He couldn't believe it, and that's why he went to 2020 and ABC News to do this little study. And when ABC News took it on, or 2020 took it on, they couldn't believe it. And when they did the results came out, they were flabbergasted, and that's why he made 2020. That's why he made one of the segments in 2020. Actually, it wasn't just a segment, it was, I believe, the whole show, because they went all the way through. I mean, they did all of the application. They did everything. They made sure that the evidence was right there in everybody's face. I don't know the date of that show, but it was some years ago. Some of you might, who probably avidly watched 2020, might remember it. But the results were staggering. The white people, and they found out what the language and lingo was for the institutions to know that there's racism involved, i.e. this is a heavy risk loan. So they found out that also, that if you see this on your application rejection, this is racism. Now, of course, you can't take that to court. You can't say this is, they did this study and this is what they found and this is the language, because the court is not going to recognize that. The court has to see something like, we don't give out loans to Negroes, which will, of course, never happen. And this is what's happening in that Seattle neighborhood. They are trying to get the black people out. Now, as you know, some of you might say, well, those poor black people need to get out. Seattle has the responsibility, which is a lie, of course. We're not Democrats, are we? Seattle has a responsibility to make all of the neighborhoods nice and perfect and clean and crime-free. Of course, nobody mentioned anything about crime, but the title of the article is completely separate. It has nothing to do with the article. The article is about the finances going to people who never even lived in Seattle, never even lived in the state, coming in, getting all of these deals for people who have lived in the neighborhood all of their lives, paid all of their taxes, paid all of the sales taxes, and aren't getting anything for it. If you're going to be handing out money, why don't you hand it out to the people in the neighborhood who want to open businesses also? $500,000? That would probably fund a good 10, 20 businesses. If you're going to be handing out money like that, if you're going to be handing out $500,000, how many small businesses in a black neighborhood for black people, started by black people, could you fund with $500,000? Plus, remember, the $500,000 was just the icing on the cake. The ongoing deductions and what have you is really what the crux of the matter was. That story is a lie. It's a false flag. And then I did some research and found that it was carried on Alex Jones, ABC News, CBS, CNN, The Griot, The Root, everything. So everything from black newspapers to white newspapers, they're all parroting this story and trying to carry it and then paraphrase it in such a way that sounds very racist. So even the black online news magazines and black periodicals are carrying the same story. It's a lie. None of them say it's a lie. They all carry the story as is. So this person who wrote this title in the article are just laughing all the way to the banks because, once again, black people look foolish. Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show.